What's up, nerds? It's your boy, Tardcant, man of Steelbook. Criterion has just dropped their announcements for October 2024, and it doesn't feel like it's been a whole month since their announcement for September, but I suppose that's the consequences of continuous daily drug abuse, which I do. It feels like a lighter month for Criterion as well, with only four releases, where it seems like they have been doing five or six per month for all of 2024 up to this point. And that includes their double dips, of course, but this month feels a little bit lighter. But one of the releases is a double feature. It's two films in a single release, so this might just be a good month for us to like catch a breather. These Criterion releases, the last several months, have really been eating into my cocaine budget. So let's start with the announcement that probably has the most people excited without really moving the needle too much for me. And that is the 90s indie oddity Gummo is being released on 4K and Blu-ray. No DVD for the poor people. This is a film by Harmony Korine. He's a dude. It's a dude harmony. You don't meet many dude harmonies, but this is a dude harmony, a male harmony. He's known for writing Kids, which came out a few years before Gummo. Also, Kids recently got a boutique release from Umbrella. He also directed Mr. Lonely, which is a film about a Michael Jackson impersonator. It was recently released by the Vinegar Syndrome partner label IFC Films. And I will add that Mr. Lonely has Werner the fuck Herzog in it, who is a personal hero of mine. I love his voice. I love his accent, especially. I just fucking like autistically obsess over the way Werner Herzog speaks specifically. I could listen to him all day. Anyway, Gummo is the first film directed by Harmony Korine, and it is a film that had some notoriety around it back in the day. It became something of a video store darling of the late VHS and early DVD era. It came out in 97, so of course, when it's hitting VHS, it's late 90s. It's 98, 99. I remember often seeing it in the video stores around the turn of the century then. After it was released on DVD in 2001, I even remember seeing it in Best Buy when I went on my weekly Best Buy jaunts to overspend money on DVDs, some of which I still have back there. Fucking idiocracy. What's up? It's just weird for me to think that you could have bought Gummo on DVD at Best Buy in the early to mid aughts. It's like how the mighty have fallen, right? Like you used to be able to buy something like Gummo at Best Buy, and now it's like, I hope you need a fridge because we don't have DVDs anymore, you fuck. Anyway, with the decline of physical media sales and the rise of streaming, Gummo kind of receded a bit, like rode off into the sunset, kind of. Best Buy and other places reduced their physical media inventory, so you're not really seeing it on the shelves anymore. Blockbuster closes up, all the other video stores, they all close up, so you're not walking past Gummo anymore. The original cover, there's the original cover. The original cover art was so distinctive. I always remember seeing the profile of that boy every time I'd walk through Best Buy or Target or Blockbuster or whatever. And then as these places start getting rid of physical media and or closing shop if they're Blockbuster, you're not walking past the VHS anymore, the DVD cover anymore. It's easy to forget the thing exists. Streamers like Netflix and Hulu were definitely not fucking with something as unusual and polarizing as Gummo is. So it went away. Like Gummo just went bye-bye. So for the past several years, the only way for a fan to enjoy Gummo was to dig up one of those old DVDs from '01. And without going on too much of a tangent, as I'm known to do, it is a good argument for collections of physical media like the ones you see behind me. It's a good argument for not necessarily having 10,000 movies in your personal library, but at least grab the movies that you know you like or that you know you love. Have a collection of 50 or 100 at least, because you never know when some more obscure favorite of yours might just evaporate and it's just gone. You don't have a Blockbuster to rent it at. You can't buy it at Best Buy anymore. And Netflix does not give one single fuck about art house fare like Gummo. So Criterion has come to save the day for fans of Gummo who have been forgotten. Um, Criterion is here. They're here to right these past wrongs. As I mentioned, Gummo is a fairly polarizing film. People tend to love it or hate it, and there's not as much middle ground in between. I think it's definitely worth watching, if for no other reason than that you will never feel like your bathtub is dirty ever again, because your bathtub will never look as disgusting as the one in Gummo. Buffalo Bill's bathtub was cleaner than this one. If you're a Silence of the Lambs fan, Buffalo Bill's tub was disgusting. Criterion made the very wise choice in this case to include a bonus feature conversation between Harmony Korine and the aforementioned Big Dick Werner Herzog. That, to me, is a massive selling point. I get to listen to Werner Herzog. It's a archive interview from 1997 at about the contemporaneous with the release of this film originally. But I mean, any opportunity to hear Werner Herzog just talk, like use his voice, right? However, on the flip side of that, the companion piece of this film, The Diary of Anne Frank Part 2, is not included on this disc as a bonus feature, which I think is a missed opportunity. Unfortunately, it would have been cool to include that as a bonus feature. It's a 40-minute companion piece that was made with footage that I believe was shot for this film that just wound up not being used. Apparently, according to Korine, he did wind up filming a lot. He said he could make several films with the material that he shot for Gummo. So it is unfortunate that the Diary of Anne Frank Part 2 is not included in this as a special feature, because that would be kind of a neat thing to enclose within this and offer up to Gummo fans, because I know they'd want to see it too. Next up, we've got Demon Pond getting a 4K Blu-ray and DVD release. DVD release. God bless Criterion for still making DVDs for the poors. It's amazing to me that you can still get Criterion films on DVD. The format has essentially been relegated to the $5 bin at Walmart otherwise, right? It's either a Criterion DVD or it's like Departed and the Italian Job on a single disc double feature in the Walmart $5 bin. It's ridiculous. Arrow, Shout, Vinegar Syndrome, Radiance, et al., everybody, right? None of them are making DVD no more. All right. They all pulled out of that game. I don't think Radiance ever made DVD. They're too new, but I mean, Shout definitely put out DVDs. Arrow definitely put out DVDs if you go back in time 10 years. But Criterion is the last motherfucker at a party that ended like 7, 8 years ago for everybody else. Like everybody else fucking went home and these two just fucking stuck around till the sun came up. Like Criterion's just there.
Hey, Barry, I think it's time for you and the milkmaid to go home. Yeah, west, yo.
Am I going to get in trouble from YouTube for showing that? Fuck. Demon Pond is a 1979 film by Masahiro Shinoda that looks something like Jim Henson might have cooked up in the early 80s if he was into kabuki instead of puppets. The visuals are pretty highly stylized. Rather than being naturalistic, filmed on location, you can tell that they're using stylized sets to create this ambiance that they want to get, and to keep it, to keep it consistent with the traditions of kabuki. Criterion's promising us an electronic synth score, which is a major turn on for me. You promised me a synth score, I feel it move. There's a major reason why I bought Thief from Criterion Collection. Fucking Tangerine Dream in them. Also, I will say the cover art for Demon Pond is fucking gangsta. Now let's talk about Criterion's double feature. This is the one. I think this is the big one for me. One of the two big ones for me this month, at least. This is a release that is also perfect for the month of October. It's really the one release for October that I'm likely to buy like day of release so that I can watch these films in the days leading up to Halloween. So this set of two films are produced by Val Luton, both released in 1943. The first film is I Walked with a Zombie, and the second film is The Seventh Victim. I Walked with a Zombie is particularly notable as a pretty early Hollywood studio production in the zombie genre, which obviously became huge in more recent decades. Tons of zombie movies coming out in the 80s and 90s, and even after the year 2000, plenty of zombie movies were coming out. They were a very popular genre, and I think for a lot of fans of these movies, they'll watch the stuff from the 80s. They'll watch the more recent stuff. They'll watch things like The Walking Dead. But I Walked with a Zombie is, in my mind, if you really want to consider yourself a true fan of the genre, I mean, you have to go back to some of these earlier releases to check out what was happening for Hollywood zombie films some 80 years ago. Unlike more recent zombie fare, I Walked with a Zombie retains that traditional voodoo connection, that Caribbean culture. I could be wrong about this, although I'm seldom wrong, but I tend to think that the voodoo element, those themes, were mostly phased out of the zombie genre in more recent decades to kind of, at least in part, avoid those like racial implications or connotations. They didn't want to, make it seem like this Haitian or Creole culture was like solely responsible for this like evil monstrosity known as the zombie. So, because that could be construed a certain type of way that might be offensive to more modern sensibilities. So it makes sense that they've ditched that voodoo kind of Caribbean island. Like this can like the zombie shit. There was a while there where that was really happening near the equator and in cultures that did have that like Haitian, Creole, Caribbean influence. You didn't get zombies in fucking Canada. You didn't have like Nova Scotia zombies. You didn't have fucking zombies wandering around Norway or some shit. It Chinese zombies. It wasn't part of that culture early on. The zombie was very much a voodoo thing. So, there's some important and maybe very fascinating cultural elements of going back and watching this film now that so much time has passed. So definitely, I mean, I'm very interested in checking this out and seeing what Criterion did. The Seventh Victim, also included in this twofer, is like Eyes Wide Shut if Eyes Wide Shut was made during the heyday of the Hays Code, right? So a girl goes missing. Her sister goes looking for her. She travels to New York, Greenwich Village, to try to find this missing sister. Over the course of this journey, she uncovers this underworld, this secret societies of devil worshippers, satanic rituals, just wild shit. I mean, at least wild in 1943 terms. So, this could also be kind of a really cool movie again to watch in that spooky season leading up to Halloween. Low key, I think this is, as a result, this is the release to pick up in October. You know, feel free to wait on anything else, but this is the one to get you in the mood for October the 31st. If you're into that kind of thing, and I'm into that kind of thing. All right, if you're not, I'm sorry for you because you're missing out. It's fun. So finally, we have the fourth release from Criterion in the month of October, and to me, this is kind of a big one. We have finally a long out of print Criterion returning from the dead, like some Creole voodoo zombie I was just talking about. G.W. Pabst Pandora's Box is coming to back into print with a new restoration. I thought Pabst made beer. I ain't making movies, fo. This is a late era silent film from 1929. So as a result, it probably has a little bit less broad appeal than, a more recent film with color and dialogue spoken by actors. A talkie. It's not a talkie, but anytime Criterion brings back into print out of a long dormancy a movie, I think we really have to act on that. I mean, I think money talks, and when a Criterion is out of print, as long as this one was, for reference, this film was spine number 358. Spine number was 358. So that tells you something. This was released long ago on DVD, and it's been out of print for a while. I think we should act to help to incentivize Criterion bringing some of these out of print titles back into print if you're interested in such things as having a complete Criterion collection and not missing out of print discs or having to pay exorbitant fees for a DVD that went out of print in 2005. I mean, that's kind of craziness, right? So I don't think it's just that. Like, that's a good reason, I think, to check this film out. But I think despite its relatively lower mass appeal, this film might surprise people who think of older films as dull. They're black and white. Nothing really happens. There's no explosions. There's no Vin Diesel. Fuck those people, by the way. I see you, Donnie. I see you, Donnie. I love you, but your taste in movies is shit. I think this film might surprise that type of person because it's a pre-code film. It's from that pre-code era, 1929. So films of that era were actually a lot more salacious than many modern viewers realize. And at any rate, the film was made in Germany, and the Hays Code was an American convention. The Germans didn't give one single Deutsch fuck about the Hays Code. So I think you should check Pandora's Box out to get yourself cultured. You fucking swine. I should have said that in a German accent. That would sound too. I'm not trying to do that. That's Criterion. It feels like a smaller month. It's 4 releases, only one double dip on the Pandora's Box, and I will give Criterion a pass for any double dip that is a film they're bringing back into print. They've done that a few times already this year with Peeping Tom, had been out of print for some time, as well as The Floating Weeds, the Yasujiro Ozu release, Floating Weeds. I think that's actually another twofer where there's 2 films included in that set. And that's another one that had been out of print for a while, had languished on DVD, and us collectors really had to like make do with some old ass DVD copy that we overpaid $50 for or something like that. So I do give Criterion a pass when they double dip. They released Les Samurai on Blu-ray in 2015, and then they turn around and release it on 4K in 2024. And it's like, that burns my ass a little bit because Les Samurai was never out of print. But if there's something out of print for 8, 10 years, 12 years, and they want to bring it back in, Criterion gets a free pass from the Man of STEELBOOK for that, right? I'm not gonna get upset about that by any means. So I think despite having a fewer titles, a fewer releases in October, I still think it's probably a pretty big month across the board. Criterion is really going strong too with the 90s indie films, with Happiness announced for September and now Gummo in October. It really feels like, and in addition to Happiness, there was the Doom Generation, the trilogy of films with Doom Generation in it. And so that's 5 films right there, with the Doom Generation trilogy being 3 plus Happiness is 4 and Gummo is 5. That's 5 pretty landmark art house independent cinema releases. I'm not talking about like Miramax, like, oh, Shakespeare in Love is an independent. Fuck off with that, right? That's a major Hollywood release that got broad theatric distribution and won a whole bunch of Academy Awards and had fucking Ben Affleck in it. I'm not talking about that fucking movie. I'm talking about films that were largely released at film festivals or very limited runs theatrically that then developed a cult following in the VHS, that late VHS era of the 90s. And so Criterion's really kind of knocking the ball out of the park if you're a fan of that era. And for me, I do have a little bit of a nostalgic soft spot for that era because I was a young man at that time, just kind of coming into my own, where I could kind of rent my own shit and kind of take myself to the video store and kind of pick up Gummo if I wanted to pick up Gummo. So that is pretty cool that Criterion's kind of digging into some of that shit. So let me know what you think. And if you think it's fucking awesome, or if you think it's fucking bullshit, if you think I'm fucking whack and I just fucking had a stroke and I can't pronounce shit, I'm happy to hear that too. I'll reply to all of you. I love you.
Peace, motherfuckers. Ugh.